Yo, hello guys, my name's MightyMax and welcome back to a brand new tutorial video on the Cosplay Warehouse series. Today we're going to be making Asta's epic Demon Slayer sword from black Clover. And guys, just before we start this tutorial, I really need your help. Only 7% of you watching this video right now are subscribed. What? Let's fix that. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and turn on post notifications, and tell me in the comments if you do it. Also tell me what you think of this video in the comments section below, and ask me what you want to see next. And also, if this video hits 1,000 likes, I'll be making all of Asta's swords and anything else you want from Black Clover. Alright then, let's do this. So first, you're going to need your materials. Here's a list of materials and items that I used in this video that are up on screen right now. You probably need most of them, if not all of them. Okay, so now that you have your materials, we can start. First off, you want to scale and size the template, then print it out and stick it together, like so. To scale the sword, I used pictures of Asta next to the sword. It's basically as tall as him, so I made it pretty close to my height. I'm 5'10", by the way.
Say it like that. If I hate you, then find someone new. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill.
Once you've done that, we can cut the pipes to size using the template as a guide. However, make sure when you cut the pipes for the sword guards not to cut them to the exact size, just in case you mess up. You'll see a bit later. Also a tip, you don't want the PVC pipe to go to the very tip of the sword, otherwise the tip won't close up when we stick it together later. Okay, now that you've got your pipes cut to size, grab your template and trace it onto the hardboard. Remember that you need to trace it twice because you need to have two halves to stick together. These two sides will glue together over the PVC pipe in a later step. Okay, once you've done that, you can now cut it out. I used a box cutter for this, but you can use whatever you have. Also make sure to score a line down the center of the blade, but make sure not to go too deep. You can't go back once you've done this, so do not go too deep. Now carefully bend the hardboard over the thin PVC pipe on both sides like so. Now these pieces are finished with, you can glue in the PVC pipe. Again, make sure not to put the pipe right down at the tip of the sword. Make sure to evenly coat the PVC pipe and the center of the blade in contact cement and wait a few minutes before sticking to allow for perfect adhesion. Also, a tip, if you have any, use some small clamps to clamp the edges of the blade together while it dries. Okay, once you've done that, we can glue the sides of the blade together. Also, just a note that my phone didn't record a couple of clips here, but essentially what you want to do is glue the side edges evenly, one side at a time, and glue the tip together like so. Oh, and this is where the small clamps really come in handy. Right, now I have a step that I can guide you through, but this step will be slightly different for everybody. There's two pieces that go on top of the blade near the handle to close the gaps. The angle of your blade will determine the shape and size of these pieces. So, basically, to make your pieces, grab some masking tape and put them over the tops of the gaps, like I did, and then use that to make your template. It should give you a perfect shape, and so you won't need to fiddle around with it too much, but it will be there to close up the gaps. Alright, so now that you've cut those out and they look perfect, glue them on, and don't worry about the tiny little gaps between the pipe, because that's going to be covered up by the handle when that goes over the top later. Okay, now this step is completely optional, but if you want to make your pipes square, you can heat up the pipes with a heat gun, then step and stamp on the pipe to flatten it in one way, and then flip and flatten it again to give you a square pipe. It's completely optional, as I said, but personally I think it looks better. However, it did take a lot of time and effort to do this, so it's completely up to you. Now grab your pipes and cut away at them like this so that they fit together. If you choose the easier option to keep the pipes circular, then you can just cut the pipes like this on screen. Once they fit together nicely with minimal gaps, you can trim those pieces down to the correct size using the template as a guide.
I'm crawling around, searching for higher ground.
Now I used lots and lots of hot glue to glue these bad boys together. It should look something like this.
Ability to know if I can bleed. If that's what you wanted, you won't get it tonight. 'Cause I can fly.
Okay, now that your pipes are glued together, grab some polymer clay or polymorph, whichever is cheaper, and mold it into two shapes like this. The edges of these pieces should match with the edges of the handle guards, so use them as a guide. If the pieces don't match well with the handle, the guards won't glue together very well, so that'll suck.
I'm crawling around, searching for higher ground. Can't see in front of me, my enemies. I've tried every possibility, ability to know if I can bleed. If that's what you wanted, you won't get it tonight. 'Cause I can fly, I can fly.
Okay, after you've made the guard pieces, you can make the bottom part that goes on the end of the sword handle like so, then glue it on with super glue. If you use polymorph instead of polymer clay, you don't have to bake it, which means you don't have to use an oven. So now that's done, grab some sheets of A3 size thin black EVA foam and cut these shapes like so. Now for the handle pieces. The handle pieces will differ slightly from person to person, as everyone's sword will be different, but you get the idea. The template will be here for this, but it'll only be as a guide, as it may be a little bit fiddly and it will be different for everybody. It also will depend heavily on whether you chose to keep your handle circular or if you made it square. Make sure to cut out those pieces twice, by the way, because you need one for each side. Then, once those pieces are done, you can super glue it onto the handle. Once that's done, and you're happy with it, grab another sheet of thin EVA foam and wrap it around the inner pipe and glue it well. You then need to take your handle and push it down over the inner pipe wrapped in foam. If it's hard to put on, that's a good thing, because we want this to stay on there very, very well. Also, if the foam starts to roll up a bit at the bottom, you probably didn't glue it very well like I did, so that's fine. Just cut away at the foam a little bit and continue to push the handle down. Now, make sure not to push the handle all the way down to the bottom, because we need to glue on those pointy EVA foam pieces that we cut out earlier. Having the handle almost in place will help us to center the foam pieces when we glue them. Okay, now that they're glued on, you can push the handle all the way down so it meets with the edge of the sword. Okay, once you've done that and you're happy with it, we can start on the paint job, which is the favourite part for me, because it actually looks really good. So, I first gave the entire sword a coat of chrome or silver metallic paint, and then sprayed on some matte rubber paint over the top. I used the matte rubber spray paint for a bit of contrast and texture, and it really shows in the light when you have the chrome shining but the black doesn't, and I just thought it would make it pop a bit more, maybe make it look a bit more realistic, because we don't want Asta's sword to be perfect, so it made sense to kind of switch up the textures a bit. Okay, now to finish off the paint job, let's go in with some chrome spray paint in a cup. We will then dry brush the paint on the certain areas where there might be wear and tear over time, as we don't want the sword to look too clean. Also, a good tip here is to not go too over the top. It's very easy to add too much dry brushing, and you can end up making things look a bit too worn, and sometimes it doesn't look very realistic, so just don't go too over the top.
you say it like that? If I hate you, then find someone new.
And boom, that is Asta's sword finished. Completely finished. This is how it looks. We've got some cinematics up on screen right now. I think it looks amazing. It's definitely one of my favourite pieces so far. So please tell me in the comments below what you think. Give me some feedback. Any questions you have, ask me in the comments below. Subscribe and like this video to help out the channel so I can make more videos like this. And I'll see you in the next video. I love you all. Stay mighty. Whoosh.